But no.
Hello everyone and welcome to our City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 15th. It is 4:30 p.m. I call this meeting to order. I will begin our meeting with our roll call as I call your name. City Council, if you could please answer with here or present. Councilmember Mr. P. Chris.
Here.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Molina.
Here.
Council Member Mr. Ron Burke.
Here.
Council Member Mrs. Sandra Bowen.
Present.
Okay. Let it be certified that we do have a quorum. Okay. Agenda item number 2, we will go into our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Okay, if we can have everyone stand please for our invocation. I will lead us in our invocation, and then Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Molina, will conduct the Pledge of Allegiance and lead us in that. You can please bow our heads. Dear Lord, we come to you with open minds and humble hearts to do your work. Guide us, dear Lord, to make the right decisions and bless this meeting and everyone here. Dear Lord, we ask for your protection over our beautiful city and its citizens. Dear Lord, bless our businesses and all who visit our city. Bless our veterans and all our military troops and their families. We ask all these things in your most precious name, Jesus, amen.
Amen. Amen. Please turn and face the flag. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We will, council, if there's no objections, want to kind of move the agenda item up for the public comments. Any objections? No? Okay, we will proceed with our public comments. I will start with our council members. Do you have, starting with Mr. P. Chris?
No, ma'am, no, just not thinking.
Mr. Molina?
No, I'm.
Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mayor.
And then, yes, sir.
I just want to let the public know that on February, an hour and a half before sundown on February 22nd through February 24th, at the south side elevated water storage tank, in essence the water tower on the south side on Hill Street and Cameron, to do some vulture control, we are going to use an approved method of by Texas Parks and Wildlife, some pyrotechnics, flashbang pyrotechnics. It's going to sound like a shotgun, and it's going to go on for that week to try to keep the vultures from roosting at that water tower. And we've done it before a while back, but they've been heading back to that location, so want to let the public know. We're also going to send this out on social media and walk the streets over there to let people know as well, but wanted to let them know at our meeting as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I just wanted, I know that we have those that, if you registered for the HyperReach link, we received a notice that there is a burn ban in James County. Just wanted to let everyone know about that. And also, I hope everyone had a beautiful Valentine's Day, and our downtown merchants had their gala Valentine. So thank you for that, and everyone. I would like to go ahead and proceed with our citizen comments. We have, do we have any others? Just one?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
At this time, we have Mrs. Belinda Silva. And if you'll just state again your name and address, please. Thank you.
My name is Belinda Silva, and I live at 904 Lewis Street, Alice, Texas. I distinctly remember when one of you publicly made the comment at a city council meeting about a group of people who were spreading misinformation about amendments being made to the charter which were placed on the ballot. You called those constituents ignorant. In reality, so much research was done by us that facts made you uncomfortable. That same night, our comments were censored and our First Amendment rights were violated. We were blocked from being able to comment or defend ourselves while you bashed us publicly. That same man a few years back had a temper tantrum, left the council meeting, causing the meeting to be canceled due to not having a quorum. How hypocritical and ironic that he allowed over $46,000 to be spent to place that quorum issue on the ballot. Micromanaging seems to be the style of another particular city council member. Rather than to do his job and make sure that he is holding the city manager accountable, he decides to interfere with matters that aren't a part of his job description nor a part of his council member's duties. He has created problems within the school district, with the superintendent, CBC and Del Mar, local newspapers, the police department, etc., all according to open records request. He also abused his power to get a venue changed to the country club rather than having it at our local golf course, which then placed the city at risk for potential liability issues. How did that help the golf course or our city? How hypocritical is it that he only got back into office after losing the election on a recall that now a former city official allegedly claims that contained fraudulent signatures? How hypocritical and ironic that he didn't mind investing taxpayers' money to place that on the ballot. The worst thing is that you were able to remove a woman who had more governmental knowledge and experience than all of you combined, and that perhaps intimidated you simply because she wanted the auditorium open and a management director in place, as had already been told. What both of these council members have in common is that they skipped meetings, failed to second the motion, and allowed their friends to get away with not being held accountable for the hot funds of over $10,000. Yesterday was my anniversary from surviving meningitis, and now I'm thriving with Kyrie malformation. Perseverance runs in my blood. It's a legacy to my parents' testament and my work ethic. But you all allowed me to be cyberbullied and attacked for being gay and fat and physically ill. Memes were created about me. My family and friends were targeted on social media. Threats were made about me being beat up. I repeatedly reached out to the city for help in stopping this on social media, all to no avail. I went to the police department, filed records. I went to the Texas Rangers. But after having the best, I asked for more time due to my disability.
At this time, we will grant you 2 more minutes.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, there's
Yeah.
a point of order in your internal rules, paragraph 3 of the citizen comments. In the essence of time, presentations by individuals shall be limited to 3 minutes each. An individual speaker's time may be extended for an additional 3 minutes with the approval of the majority of the council members present. And so it would take a vote of the majority of council members present to approve an additional 3 minutes. And
Okay.
it can be extended in 3-minute blocks up to 15 minutes total.
Okay. Council, any objections to extension of 2 more minutes to our citizen? Mr. Beckrith?
That's fine. Go ahead and let her.
Mr. Molina?
I'm okay.
Yep. Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bowen? It's fine. Okay.
Thank you so much for
2 more
respectfully doing that. I'm sure the ADA group would be very pleased with that, as well as the civil rights organizations. As I was saying, I have the best educational accolades and honors that an educator could possibly have after 32 years with Alice Independent School District, CCISD Teacher of the Year for Elementary, statewide as being one of the 5 top educators for HEB, and national testimony as a National Board certified teacher, which I believe I am the only one from Alice that has accomplished that. It is, like I said, a testimony to my parents. So, because of that, when a very wealthy man and a former city official made slanderous and libel remarks about me on social media, I went to my beloved priest numerous times. I asked and pleaded for help and went to everyone possible in the chain of command. My words in writing became my way of speaking up, and you haven't liked how well I have learned to defend myself for simply accepting the appointment that you all gave me to be a member of the Parks of the Auditorium Committee. And we were a group of professionals, all doing an exceptional job, who were intentionally sabotaged for promoting it even further. So when the Parks and Rec Board was resurrected by you all, again, conveniently, that president was later unanimously voted out because of the misappropriation of funds and the way she made a fraudulent contract signature. By the way, you also lost an entire group of Parks and Rec Board and the best volunteer I have ever seen as president. Kudos to what they were able to accomplish at the auditorium on the 4th of July events. So how much has this cost the taxpayers to play it on the ballot? It's time to give our mayor's voice back, which you all intentionally censored and resurrected a recycled ordinance. Simply to hold the city accountable, the manager resurrected it again, which, by the way, our mayor had put on the agenda that she wanted him evaluated. This perhaps would have avoided collecting debts, contracts, etc. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to, and again, this is a little bit taken out of order, but move on to presentations, which will be agenda item number 4. Let the record reflect that, please. And council, if you would join us in presenting a proclamation. It's for our Black History Month. If we can have you step forward, our committee. Sorry.
I'm going to push yourself.
Okay. Mrs. Farrell, yes. Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
Okay, good. Come on around, guys.
Yes.
Where? Yes, ma'am, right here. She's our president, so.
It doesn't matter, I'm kind of short, so.
Great. I'd like to present this proclamation to you. Our proclamation reads from the Office of the Mayor, Cynthia Carrasco. Whereas in February 2022, we celebrate National African American History Month to honor the significant contributions African Americans have made to our great nation. And whereas annual observance is an opportunity to remember the challenges of our past, but also to honor countless African American heroes who inspire us to shape our country's future. And whereas our responsibility as citizens is to address the inequalities and injustices that linger, and we must secure our birthright freedoms for all people. And whereas this year's theme, Black Health and Wellness, considers activities, rituals, and initiatives that Black communities have done to be well throughout American history. And in our time, especially through self-determination, mutual aid, and social support initiatives, now therefore be it resolved, I, Cynthia A. Carrasco, Mayor of the City of Alice, do hereby proclaim month of February 2022 as Black History Month. Thank you so much.
Okay.
When can I? I forgot I was.
Oh. Can you see? Can you see?
Did I block? I don't
Can
want to
you
block
see Ruth
any.
back there? Okay.
Sandra, Pete, and Robert, I can't see either.
I hope you're not standing behind me.
Ron's got to get taller.
There you go, ready? 1, 2. Thank you.
Let me do one
like that too, because
Okay.
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 All righty.
Thank
Okay,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cynthia.
Yes, I'm like going.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have the box right there for y'all.
Oh, okay.
Let me get the.
Praise God, amen. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. We will move on to agenda item number 5, City Manager / Staff Reports 3.1, update on Alice International Airport, update on GLO CDBG Virginia Street Area 6.9 million grant, new CDBG wastewater 350,000 grant, TWDB master drainage planning study $217,350 grant.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, I'll start with the update on the GLO CDBG, that $6.9 million grant. Just before that, give you an idea, in the past 12 months, we've gotten $7.4 million in grants. And this, of course, was the largest one. And, people are anxious and the community is anxious. We're anxious to get started, but to let you know how these things take some time. And so even though, we got awarded this back in July, right now it's in the engineering and design phase, and that takes up to about a year. Construction won't really actually start until about a year from now. But it's on the way, it's in process. It's a very big grant for us, and it's going to be a very good project, which leads us into the second one I'm going to talk about is the Texas Water Development Board Master Drainage Plan Study, which we got awarded to. It fits into the our biggest threat that we talked about is flooding and winds from hurricanes and things like that, and not winds but flooding and the drainage, and so we kind of got started. We were able to get the $6.9 million grant without that study, but there's other places other than the Virginia Street that need to get worked on. So that grant is a $217,000 grant, and it's going to be on your agenda for the engineering part of it today. But I wanted to give you an update on that. That was something else that we went after and were able to get. A new one that's real new is a CDBG wastewater grant that's on the King and Aransas Street area. This is wastewater. We were able, through a bond a few years back, work on the water, relocating water lines off that area, and that was a real heavily needed area to move those lines out. And we were able to get this $350,000 grant to move the sewer lines out there. So all in all, that's I think our staff works really hard getting these things done. We did use Trailer and Associates for one of these grants. We did use GrantWorks for one of them also. But our staff, and Barbara especially, still manages that. And there's a lot of work that goes into it, even when you use somebody outside to administer the grant. And really plainly put, these grants this size, especially 6.9, in-house, it's impossible to do in-house and manage a grant of that size and all the paperwork that goes along with it. So the grant administration gets paid through the grant. So really proud of our staff for making these happen. The Alice International Airport, it's something we don't talk about a whole lot. It's there, but we work a lot on that. And our staff, with our interim finance manager and Gabriel and Barbara, has been, Barbara's been with keeping track of that airport for a long time. So yeah, she's our grant administrator, but she also pretty much serves as an assistant airport manager, even airport manager at times, because of all the work that gets put in there. But wanted to let you guys know that a week and a half ago we were able to get the 4 people from TxDOT Aviation, 3 of their top people, the director of aviation, the director of planning, and also their engineering head, and our local, or our rep at TxDOT, to come to Alice and visit our airport. It was kind of a nice surprise. They said they wanted to come see us. We've been working with them a lot through Zoom, through meetings, trying to get them to help us with some of the grants that are available, mainly to get some airport hangar space. We have to have a minimum-based aircraft to keep funding from FAA, and we need the hangar space to be able to get people to house our planes here. And so we've talked to them quite a bit. And, from like one week to the next, they let us know, hey, if y'all want to have us, we're going to be there. And they showed up. They gave us an hour. They made their rounds to the valley, but they thought of us enough to stop here. And, that was impressive for us. They have the state jet that flies around, and they have to get approval for all the use of it. And they made their way here, and we had a really good meeting. Barbara set up a second meeting to be able to talk about some of the funding that they have available. Really helpful to have them in person, but it was really nice to have them come visit our airport. So wanted to let you know that those things are in the works, and we should be, talking to them on how we can utilize some of the multi-year funding. We have RAMP grant, routine airport maintenance program, and we have NPE funds, which are non-primary entitlement funds that come through FAA. And there's also a few state funds that we're trying to get that it's kind of hard for a general aviation airport to get. But just also to let the public know, the reason TxDOT's here is the general aviation airports in the state of Texas are managed through TxDOT. So if you're a commercial airport like Corpus Christi or San Antonio, Austin, the Dallas-Fort Worth, and a few other ones, I think in the Valley. I think the Valley one may be a Strait with FAA. Everybody else at all the other airports, small airports, general aviation, are managed through TxDOT. So these are the people that get the funds from the federal government and then send them all out. But wanted to let you know they were here, and it was a kind of a nice moment for us to have them visit us.
Thank you. That's great news. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 6, that's our consent agenda. All consent agenda items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and voted on separately. We have 6.1. Discuss, consider, and act upon adopting a resolution ratifying the submission of Justice Assistance Grant JAG application number 4212502 titled Portable Radios to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Criminal Justice Division for funds available in fiscal year 2023. Criminal Justice Grant Program B, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official. C, authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate a grant on behalf of the city. And D, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, that the city will return all funds to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Criminal Justice Division, 6.2, discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing city staff to submit an application to the HEB Community Investment Program for funds to purchase books and accessories for participants in the library's Families Reading Together program and for participants in the library's 2022 summer reading program. 6.3, discuss, consider, and act upon adopting a resolution, A, authorizing the city manager to sign and submit grant applications number 2989908 titled Local Border Security Program to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division for funds available for the fiscal year 2023, Local Border Security Program, LBSP, for overtime and operational funds for the Alice Police Department. B, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official. C, authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, to reject, to alter, or to terminate a grant on behalf of the city. And D, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, the city will return all funds to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division. 6.4, discuss, consider, and act upon adopting a resolution, A, ratifying the submission of grant application number 4447601 titled Portable and Mobile Radios to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division for funds available in the 2022 State Homeland Security Program, SHSP. B, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official. C, authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, to reject, to alter, or to terminate a grant on behalf of the city. And D, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, the city will return all funds to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division. Whew, okay. Council, are y'all okay with the consent agenda? Are there any items that you would consider wanting to move out of consent agenda? Mr. Chris? Mr. Molina?
No.
Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Having said that, may I have a motion for our consent agenda items?
Mayor, I make a motion accepting all consent agenda items as presented. Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item number 7 is individual consideration. 7.1, discuss, consider, and act upon budget amendment number 1 regarding golf course operations and organizational chart changes.
Mayor and Council, what, in your packet, what I have is the, directly from the budget, we made some changes to the golf course function sheet and then also the revenue and expenditures. And what I'm hoping to do here is get y'all's approval to make a change over at the golf course. Right now, and for several years, we've had the golf course managed by our director that also manages the library, that also manages the multi-use, and also manages the parks and recreation department. And at times we've had a what's considered a golf pro or director of golf operations. And looking at how we've been historically, we've always done a little bit better when we've had that position, because that's somebody that's at the golf course daily, monitoring play, monitoring the maintenance, and that has some golf experience that knows how golf courses should operate and how the ground should be kept. And along the way, we develop a budget in the summer, we work on it, we approve it. But if there's a change that needs to be done along the way, I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to try to get it done, even though we're mid-budget. and see if we can do something better than we're doing now. And I think our golf course, while it's a very nice place, I think there's still some lacking where we don't have the everyday somebody on site. And it's a hard thing to do when you're managing 4 different areas. And so they've done a pretty good job doing it, but we need additional help. And I think if we get the director of golf operations / golf pro, that'll be able to monitor what's happening there, monitoring the grounds, monitoring the upkeep. And we've had a lot of things that need work. We have a sprinkler system needs work. We have bathrooms need a work. We need more tournaments out there. And I think we can find somebody that'll be able to get those things done and also get more tournaments. What I'm hoping is to open this position up, and part of the idea is the increased cost for a golf director, try to get it offset by additional tournaments. And I think that we can have 5 to 6 to 7 additional tournaments to be able to offset a cost. Now, finance and I worked on this for over a month, trying to gauge, what do we need to have. And so there's a couple of things that happen here. And on your budget, if you look at page 24, we have additional charges for services. So we have a 243, current adopted was 243,000 from the budget. We added additional tournament play that'll bring another $25,000 in. We just do about 5 tournaments.
What page are you on? I'm sorry.
On page 24 on the budget, on your page.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, under the finance, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's numbers on the bottom here too.
Oh, yes, it's
Amendment
page,
1, it's the part of the attachments, yeah.
on the attachments. And so we are estimating that we can get additional 25,000 in revenue with additional tournaments. Another thing that we're looking at is on that page, if you see the transfers out, we had budgeted $70,000 transfers out. Now, if you remember a few years back, we set every department to be pretty equal on sending their transfers out to the general fund, because the general fund is who manages a lot of these things with human resources, accounting, administration. Well, here we're lessening that by about 30,000 because we expect the director of golf operations to be pretty much the first line when it comes to managing everybody at the golf course, dealing with the HR immediately, any kind of issues when it comes to human resources, and go between with finance as well. So that's where we're able to get a little bit of savings as well by not transferring so much out and adjusting that. And overall, I have a position that we're figuring it's going to be a director of operations to be about $64,000, offsetting about 44 of that with additional play, and that's pretty conservative. I think we'll get more play, and then offsetting some of that with the transfers out. That leaves a net deficiency of about $20,000, which I think is okay for us, based on sales tax revenue that we're getting. That's easy to cover. But I think making this change out there, I think we can focus on a lot of things that need to be improved. There's a driving range, that old driving range that has some potential on the north side that I think we can do some better grass out there, build up a berm for a tee box, and maybe get something automated so people can hit some shag balls out there also. So there's a lot of things I think we can make the golf course a lot, if not a lot close to breaking even. If not, maybe make it a little bit more make it profitable. And it may take a couple of years, but I think it's a nice place. It gets used. We want to bring some tournaments back. We want to bring some play back. And so this is a proposal on a budget amendment that I'd like to for you guys to consider.
Council, any questions? Sorry. Mrs. Bowen?
I know we got some new golf carts out there, correct, which is wonderful. But who manages that? Is it the maintenance manager that takes care of the rental on those? So the golf pro will take over all of that then as well?
Well, I mean, ultimately they'll be in charge. Right now, no, it's our cashier that handles that.
Oh, the cashier does it, okay.
And kind of that's another thing that I forgot to mention. We do want to get into different kind of be up to speed on our point of sale there, to be able to communicate with our current software. Right now, we should be able to plug in, check our system and how many rounds we have today, how many rounds we have, the last 12 months. It's a manual process right now, and it shouldn't be that way. The golf course has a lot of activity, and so that's another thing that it's those things. We know we need to get them done, but we need to have the full-time person to push that daily and work on those things.
Okay.
And they'll manage the the golf cart operations.
The marketing and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No question.
No question. Mr. Bunny?
Okay.
Mr. Chris?
Yeah, so by bringing in this manager, you're expecting to do a few things outside of that. Because I know that some of the things that we need to look at is, I know we do Monday, twilight, but we also have staff there at 11. And they're not actually starting to work until 4 o'clock or whatever it is. So these are things that this manager would reevaluate with the potential of maybe even opening on Monday or removing the twilight. It's kind of different having twilight when the sun goes down at 6. You know what I mean? So those are things that I expect them to look at. And then when you talk about these improvements, you're actually looking at not utilizing the general fund so much as the Golf Course Improvement Fund, which is a completely separate fund, but
Right.
funds itself through the golfers going out there, and there's $2 or $3 that come out of their fee that go into that fund. So when we talk about improvements, a lot of the time for the golf course, we're talking about the golfers paying for their own improvements. So I just wanted to put that out there because we talked about, hiring this employee and taking the $20,000 hit and then talking about all these improvements, and that would have been additional hits. But if we have the funds available in there on the side, then we're not hitting those tax dollars. We're hitting the fees that the golfers pay directly to the golf course for these kind of upgrades. And I just wanted to put that out there to the general public. So, but aside from that,
Sure.
go ahead.
I think, Mr. Sparta, you also indicated interest in looking at the next generation of golfers, building a base with a younger set through course lessons and things like that. Right?
Yeah, I think that there's, the golfers it's played. I mean, you can be as young as sometimes 3 or 4 years old, and of course as old as you can be playing out there. It's a lifelong sport, and I think one of the things that I expect is if there's hopefully we'll get somebody that has experience or some kind of certifications in teaching and those kind of things. And so that's another source of revenue that I'm thinking that we could have if there's lessons to be done out there. There's part of an agreement where it can be split with the professional that's teaching, and part of it can come to the city, and also get younger people involved. It's a lifelong sport. The more people we get, the more activity we get, the more people will continue playing on. And we have a lot of people that play there regularly. And another thing about having somebody that's managing, like we had in the past as a director of golf operations, that's also a player, is they're going to play also and see, where things need to be corrected. If we're not out there all the time looking at every hole, we're not playing those holes, we're not seeing where the trees need to be trimmed all the time. Our maintenance people are doing the maintenance, but they're not necessarily the players. So there's some things that we can get from more of a professional director type of person out there managing it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say just a couple of things. I'm glad we're looking at this because I think that's a huge asset for our city, our golf course. Not many cities have an 18-hole golf course, municipal golf course, so it's something that we can also highlight and move forward with this. I wanted to know, do we have an official job description for this position?
We're working on that, getting that together.
And also the org chart, where does that fall? Because we didn't get a copy of that, but as far as that,
it's
like
gonna,
what he would oversee, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it'll be as a director position. So we would actually move the golf course out and keep it by itself. So it'll be a director of golf operations. Right now it's under the parks and recreation and all those. So it'll be a director position.
And that brings a question.
And as a director then of operations and golfer, then he will be overseeing all the groundskeepers and all that. So that will make it better where sometimes we have our golfers call and say, the greens are, they need some work and stuff. So this is something, I'm glad this will improve those type of things.
And another thing is we should have a pro shop. We should have things, that we can sell on the retail side that we used to in the past. And, there's people that come in from out of town and sometimes they'll need something, or golf balls or hats or, shirts or jackets, windbreakers. It happens. And we need to have some of that. Also, I expect the pro shop to be a working pro shop. And right now it's not. And we need to have it back open. We had closed it for a while. And, it needs to be more golfer friendly.
Well, I'm glad to see this. And then, do we have a history of what past tournaments we had?
Yeah, we had finance looked at that, and that's where, we came up with about a $5,000 number. On the low end, we were being conservative on that, on what we would, make per tournament. And I think having somebody there, they can, that'll be part of the job, is working with other golf courses and other golf pros in the area, and, sharing that and trying to, get tournaments here. We're not that far from a lot of places, so there could be there could be more tournament play, and our staff and the director of golf operations would be working to make that tournament successful also.
Mr. Chris?
So, and now two things. First, starting on the tournaments, you're not necessarily talking about a city run and operated tournament. You're talking about bringing back like the API tournament, or bringing back, the alumni tournaments or the veterans tournaments that we've had in the history. So you're talking about that type of thing. You're not necessarily talking about hiring somebody to go through and start running tournaments.
No, but we should be helping them.
Oh yeah, no,
work the
assisting
tournaments.
100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so have a template to make it easier over and over. And we just haven't had that kind of in a while, because we don't have somebody there every single day working those things.
And then the second one is right now, if I'm not mistaken, even the golf course maintenance people are underneath the parks. And do they actually go around and help with anywhere else, or are they just dedicated to the golf course?
Dedicated to the golf course.
Okay,
yeah.
and there is times though when we have in the past utilized more of the parks people to come in and to help us. That was a tree issue, and that was when we were preparing for the big tournament for the
right.
Yeah, for the big
PAG.
tournament.
And we do get help sometimes at the golf course. We did that 2.5 years back when we did the mass tree trimming, and we had our streets and public works people out there also, sanitation. Everybody was helping out. We did it really, really quickly, and that's something that needs to happen pretty regularly. We did it, and it was long overdue, but we'll get help from other departments when we need it.
Okay, great. That was it. Thank you.
Okay. If you can, when you do have that, just to see that job description.
Well, we should finalize it this week. We've been working on that with HR and finance, and we'll shoot you an email with it, you guys, with the job
Thank you.
description.
Okay. Council, if there's no other questions in reference to agenda item 7.1, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mayor, I make a motion accepting the budget amendment regarding the golf course operations and organizational and changes to the organizational chart.
Second.
Okay. We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, sign. Motion carries. Okay. We will move on to agenda item 7.2. Discuss, consider, and act upon options for real estate property located at 304 East Main Street, including demolition or partial demolition, and adopting an ordinance authorizing the sale of real property owned by the municipality by auction or by sealed bid under Section 272.001 of the Texas Government Code, and authorizing city manager to accept the highest bid.
Mayor and Council, so this is a property on 304 East Main Street that we set out for bid. We got a bid that backed out. We have some people that were interested but may potentially back out. I think our best bet to do something here is to start either a partial demolition or a demolition process. What I'd like to get authorization from you guys is a demolition or partial not to exceed a certain amount. And I think if we do that, then we can do let's say that we were demolish it down to the foundation. Now it has more value because for someone, the foundation's there and they don't have any work but just to build up. Okay, so if we do that, I think that our best bet to get the most bang for our buck is going to be a public auction. A sealed bid, it's good, but a public auction generates more activity. I think people are going to be bidding against each other, and so we may get a higher number for that. And so my goal is to get this, out of our hands and somebody else to make that property productive. And so my thought is start the demolition, get it down, either the whole thing come down, and if we need to assist on our crews, not on the demolition, where I think the demolition part in a structure like this, you need a company to do it. This was a standalone building without any neighbors. We would attack this ourselves. We had to, when we had the fire at the old city hall, our building official, Patrick, decided that, there was no salvation for this. We're not going to let it sit. It was an emergency. We needed to go ahead and knock everything down and take it out. So we're able to do that. But on a building like this, it has adjoining walls. I do want to contract with a demolition company. And I think if we give a $50,000 cap on that, as far as what we're going to pay a demolition company, I think we can work with demolition companies to get a number that's going to work. And then they know this is our limit for it. And our extent would be having our trucks there to haul off what needs to be hauled off and assist in that end, but nothing on the actual demolition part. And at the same time, if we get that done, the reason I'm wanting the authorization to accept the highest bid is so if somebody bids at that public auction and they're there and and if you guys want to put an amount, a starting bid on that, I recommend we do that too. But then when they buy it, we
It's
can.
called a reserve bid.
I was going to say reserve.
Then I'm able to sign that deed and we can move forward instead of waiting for the next council meeting to get that done. And I'll just be able to put it back on the tax rolls quicker. So that's for y'all's consideration. Authorization to start a demolition or partial demolition. My recommendation would be, not to exceed $50,000. And also authorization to do a sealed bid, a public auction after that's complete, and set a reserve.
Mrs. Bowles?
Okay, I know we probably paid, about $30,000 for the Rialto, so I think this is a larger building, correct? It's got more in there.
Yeah.
So, the public auction, I've never been to one. I'm sure you've probably already done those with the cities have done those in the past, maybe?
We recently did
Do
an
you
auction.
hire somebody to oversee that? And what is most of the cost more like? Is it a bid you do? People come in?
Yeah, people register and they have to register. We get a company that'll come out and put it on their website. They'll do some notifications. There's a process that we have to follow as far as notifying in the newspaper.
Okay.
I think it's 2 consecutive times.
Okay.
And so there's a process for that to get that done, and we'll get assistance from an auctioneer that specializes in that.
Okay. Well, I'm just asking, so
And
I've never been involved.
Yeah, and I don't have the cost yet for what they'll charge us for that.
Okay. I like the idea about the reserve bid, setting one, to start, so that's good. That's all I have right now, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Burke?
May have missed the timeframe for the auction. What are we talking?
Well,
Might be going.
we try to get some demolition started here in the next couple of weeks. That may take 30 days. So once that's done or it's near completing, we may start the process of the public auction. And so it'd be 30 days after that. So, we're looking at like 2 months, probably at the soonest before something would be auctioned off.
Thank you.
Mr. Burke, just for, I guess, expediency, it would probably be best not to give the city manager or administration a deadline in regards to.
It'd be better to leave the foundation unless the demolition is going to tear up the foundation, then that may need to go somewhere also. So that's going to be something that, once we start talking to some demolition companies, we'll have to look at and determine at that time.
The agenda item reads a public auction or a sealed bid. Do we have a preference
Yeah,
for the other?
I think the public auction would be better because you're going to have a lot more interest if it's a slab or if it's an empty lot. Right now, the problem is that people get in there and demolition people tend to bid a little bit on the higher end, and it takes a lot of work. I've talked to them several times on that building before and on the Rialto, and so I think by working with them on some things, we'll be able to mitigate a cost, have it a lot lower than what's usually quoted out there. But once I think it'll be more valuable and it'll have more interest if you have people competing and bidding on something rather than them having a sealed bid where they'll put a number on and everybody's, they're going to put the lowest number that they want to get for it sometimes. Here you're going to have people competing. I think there'll be, 5 or 6 people that are going to want to buy that lot or the slab, with the slab or without. And so now they're competing against each other, which to me should drive the price up. I'd rather much have it out and open and have people saying yes, here's the 5,000, I'll bid 5,000, and then I'll bid more. And so we have that. That's going to create more activity and more want.
And the reserve bid would be hidden, or?
No, you guys,
We're putting it out right now.
You can put it out right now.
Announce it and say, we'll open the bidding at such and such, that's a reserve bid,
What's your recommendation for reserve bid?
Well, so, what's the value of, we're looking at what the value of an empty lot is. Mayor, you're looking at in real estate, it's, I would easily think that, we could do a $10,000 or $20,000 number, something like that, because if we can keep a demolition cost to the 50 or under 50, and our losses in, let's just say in the 30, we're looking at kind of what we did with the Rialto, similar numbers, and so definitely I wouldn't recommend anything under 10. An empty lot, it'll have some value. If you want to do higher, it'd be okay too, but I would recommend it being at least $10,000 on a reserve.
All right, here's where I have issues.
Uh-oh.
We just talked about spending $50,000 instead of reserve between 10 and 20. Yes, we lost money at the Rialto, but and I openly said, hey, I really want to see us get our money back. We accepted a $10,000 bid on a $30,000 demo. Didn't like it, but we did it. Now we're setting ourselves up to do the exact same thing. Conceptually, we had it out there once. Even with the Rialto, we went out a second time with a closed seal bid that didn't cost us anything more than we already had spent. I'd like for council to consider the idea that, hey, he's going to need 30 days to negotiate, even getting it engineered to get demoed and figure out what's going on. Maybe for the next 3 weeks, we put it open for bid again and review those bids and have him move forward in 30 days. It's something to consider, because if we can spend no money on this thing, we're ahead. We're ahead. Yes, we've already spent a little bit here and there in city staffing and stuff like that to figure it out. But, that's just my idea. Of course, everybody's going to want an empty lot. We've done the work for them. Are they going to pay more? Yeah, they're going to pay a little bit more, but we're still going to be losing money. My idea is, and this is just something for y'all to consider, for Michael to move forward in figuring it out of how much it would cost and getting a contract in place, not in place, but ready to present or to sign off on it, and give it the chance, because I know a couple of people who wanted to put a bid in, and they just didn't. Now, we've heard that many, many times before. We have heard that many times before. But we did it twice with the Rialto. I think that is something that we can move on again, because we have people who own their own construction companies that can go in and do demo, and they may be able to do it at a lower cost. I just don't want to spend more of the city's money unnecessarily if somebody's willing to take it over as is.
So
That's my thought.
you're saying that we go ahead and put it up for bid, do the same process. In the meantime, he's looking at costs for demo, just in case.
Right?
And then,
If we get nothing or unacceptable
Yeah.
by the time we have our next city council meeting, a week before, when he can open it, put it on the agenda, then we can say, move forward with demo. Mike, your thoughts? I mean, because you already said that's the time frame we're looking at anyway.
Well, but I mean, you're talking about, for us to do a sealed bid, we're gonna have to put it out already. But the condition is gonna change because I plan on starting something in the next couple of weeks. Like negotiating with a firm, you know,
demo.
like tomorrow. And then say, can you start in a week? Okay, so we put it out for a sealed bid again. I mean, we still have the posting requirements that we have to do. So that's gonna happen. That's gonna put us out,
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, that's why I was saying 3, because earlier when you spoke, you said it's gonna take about 30 days for them to get started to demo, and then 30 days after that. That's the number I'm
Oh.
working off of, what you had said earlier. So that's, the next meeting is 30 days away.
yeah, at the most.
Yeah, less than 30 days
Yeah.
away.
Well,
So-
you got to think about also, we didn't get we only got one bid, and they backed out. And I don't think we had any other interest that was really solid. I mean, do you?
No, I mean, we had interest, and that interest is falling off because, you know, when you call a demolition company,
Sorry.
they're gonna give you the highest number.
Sorry, I wasn't thinking.
You know, they're gonna give you the highest number on demolition costs. And so, you know, we're in a position where we're able to do a little bit of work that doesn't cost us very much because, you know, we can have our containers out there to fill and we can haul it off. You know, we can do it once a day. Okay, let's go pick it up and take it off. It's the same time that it takes when we deliver a container to a construction site. So, you know, some of that, you know, not everybody's going to have access to it. So we're able to get a better cost on demolition. So it scares people away when they're out trying to inquire about demolition. They're not able to get that done. And so,
Real quick, you know, with the Rialto, the big issue with me was a safety issue. Do we have any safety issues with this building?
Sure.
We do?
I mean,
Okay.
you know, it's dilapidated. I mean, we've done what we could to keep it as safe as we can, but, you know, we've kept it boarded up. We've done things like that. But
So the sooner the better.
really, you know, the quicker that we can get it out of our hands, the better off we are.
But the Rialto actually collapsed on this.
Right.
That was a
Yeah.
big difference too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't want this to happen to this building, you
I mean,
know.
this building's a little more
Let-
sound.
learn-
It's 3
Yeah.
stories,
It
it's
is.
solid. I mean, I know the
Actually,
outside
4.
doesn't look,
Okay.
I'm not crazy about the haste in this whole thing, but,
Okay.
you know, just an off-the-wall question, how much, what would be the cost to turn it into a parking alley or something?
Yeah,
The reason
they
I'm
definitely-
asking that is because we're
need
gonna take a
parking.
$40 or a $30,000 hit just because we're coming down on the reserve. I mean, who say we can't use that money to do it since we already did
You mean
half the work?
make it parking?
Yeah.
Remember,
Well,
remember
we
we
talked
had
about that, I
initially
think,
talked
a little
about
bit.
that, and then, but the demolition cost was, the first number you brought us was outrageous.
150?
Yeah, I mean, we got quotes and, I mean,
But
so,
but it didn't fit very many cars either, correct? The way-
Well, I
didn't
think
fit
the
too many,
alley
but-
was an issue, wasn't it? The alley?
Well,
That you
it's-
couldn't turn, it was a
you
tight.
can't.
No,
it's
we
a
were
little tight.
openly talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, there was
all
that.
drawn
I saw the
out
pic,
and
yeah, the
everything.
diagram.
I'm not going, but I'm just saying that if we're gonna eat all that anyway, I mean. you
then,
know, so-
well,
because
I
we're
mean,
already
if
kinda
you want to
deep.
consider that, if you're not ready to do the sealed bid or the public auction, I think at least let's get started with the partial demolition and decide. I mean, if we can get it on the ground and have a slab there for $50,000 and it's just a parking area, for us to make it parking from there, you know, we're talking about striping
I
and
kinda
things like
agree
that.
with Pete, you know, or Councilman Chris about, you know, not throwing too much money out there early on, you know, just to kind of play our cards, like you say, you know, demo it down to the foundation with a minimum. But the reserve's gonna have to be there, you know. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna have to be more than 10 grand.
Well, for us, on the liability side, I'm looking at it, what you guys decide to do after, I'm looking at it like, how do we make this thing safe or get rid of this risk and this liability? And if it's an empty lot, then I'm comfortable. So if you guys want to decide that after that,
Later
then
on.
we can bring it on, but let's get started on something to get rid of this kind of exposure that we have, and the liability. And so if we do that, I can start negotiating with demolition companies to get something going. And if it becomes something that you guys are like, hey, this is great for parking, then we'll work that, after that. Or we don't want it, it's not gonna work, the parking's gonna be too tight, then we can do something on, but then we're not in a hurry to do anything. Right now, I'm in a hurry to do something because of the condition it's in. But after that,
Well, if the condition's an issue, then okay, but,
Yeah.
to me, all those buildings are all tied into the same walls. You know what I mean? And the other buildings, I don't see them worried about demoing them. I don't mean to be argumentative, but I'm just saying, like, I don't see the haste, I don't see
Well,
the
each
safety
building has
issue,
their
rather
own.
than just barricading it off, and
well, it's, in the safety issues, it's, there's people that have gotten in there, and we don't want a fire to start in there, we don't want anything to happen. All the buildings that are being used, that's not as likely as a vacant building, and I've been in there 3 times already, and you can tell, people have camped out, and they're spray painting.
we had an issue, and we had to barricade it.
Yeah,
See it all.
and so, people find a way to get in. It's very difficult to keep them out. And so, yeah, what to do after, that's, up to you guys. I think right now we have, something that we need to act on, which is the demolition or partial. The reason I say partial is we get in there and like at the Rialto, we were able to work with a demolition company, so it pretty much stayed the way it was, except that parapet wall that was on top. It had those trusses that were all the way around, and this has a little bit. They don't seem as strong as the Rialtos, but before we go messing with those walls that are adjoining, we're going to look at it and see if there's going to be any problems also, and that's why we need the experts in demolition to start that.
I would love it if we could, if we decide to put it, back up for bid and everything, but to have the city manager investigate the parking, because downtown needs parking, obviously. If we can figure out something, maybe the person who puts a bid on it will do that,
It's a
Maybe
really
someone
narrow, it's a
downtown.
really narrow area.
It
you
is.
know, And then the exit on the south side is kind of.
That's the issue, yeah. That's what I thought.
To the alley.
I was just bringing it up for the sake of the argument of losing that money, I don't have a problem doing the demo to avoid the, kind of get rid of that risk, and then we have time to sit on our, basically sit on, figure
Yeah.
out what we want to do.
I see what y'all mean.
Try
I
and
do.
get that money back versus the Rialto. And the Rialto, we kind of rushed it as well too,
Mr. Esparza, when you said you had collected an estimate for demolition, and before it was at 150, now you're thinking you could do it at 50?
We've had estimates at 170, 150, 110. We've had I think I had one starting at 75 at one time. A lot of it has to do with sitting down and talking about the issues that they're having. The hauling, the trucking, that's pretty expensive for people to do.
Is there anything that we would have to mitigate prior to demolition? Or is that part of the demolition?
That would be part of the demolition. There's been an asbestos study done that we were able to get by one of the prospective bidders, and so they sent it to us. So that helps a lot with demolition costs. And really, they just found that the flooring on the first floor, the mastic had some asbestos. Everything else was pretty clean. So that's going to have to be mitigated, and whether that's not that difficult to do on that part. And so
you do feel that $50,000 demo is realistic?
My goal is to pay a contractor 50 or less. I'd like a little bit. If you want to do 60 or less, that would help. But I think that I can get a contractor, demolition contractor, to do it if we assist with some of the trucking. And
On that point, I have another thing is we're spending $50,000 on the contractor, but how much are we spending in-house?
Yeah, well-
Because that's still a cost to us, right?
Sure.
That's a cost that we're not even talking about is every time a truck comes and goes from that location, the city's spending money in order to do that too.
Just so I can make a point clear, because you guys had asked about the liability situation. The status of the building right now, the city owns it. We need to try to secure the building. There's things that we're going to have to do prior to demolition as cost to get it so that it is acceptable and safe and whatnot generally to our own standards, to state standards. And so there's going to be money spent on that building and continuing money spent on that building in those regards to, secure it, to
The gates,
prepare
the
it,
fences.
to haul off stuff and things
I mean,
like
if we
that.
just-
And that's one of the things that the city manager hasn't presented, but he had a soft number in those regards when we initially got the building from Mr. Jones. And so that's an additional thing that comes into his play, it comes into his discussion when we talk about liabilities. There's costs that we need to spend right now if we're not going to sell it right now or start some type of demolition.
Right, and that's we talked about that too when we accepted this building, that we knew there was going to be costs to get there. But what I'm talking about is on top of the demo, in order to continue with the demo and move forward with the demo, the city is going to have demo costs within the city also. Not just the checks that we write out, but our
Yes,
trucks moving
yeah.
stuff around
That's gonna be
is
our-
additional cost that comes out of our pocket but isn't seen under this 50, or you're going to consider this under the 50?
No, 50 is what I think that we would have to pay a
Okay,
contractor.
I'm just putting
Yeah.
that out there because there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
Because there's potential, like you said, if you had a 70, 80, 90, $150,000 bid and the trucking is a high cost of it, that means that the city is potentially paying that difference. But it's not going through this bid process. I mean, through this contract
Yeah,
process.
we're you're talking about, we're not going to pay retail trucking to get something to pick up a container.
But we are paying our trucks, our employees, and
Yeah, but it's a lot easier for us to drop off a container and then pick it up at the end of the day, and we do that on,
A daily.
construction.
I think right now, you're kind of stating more that we want to make it safe. And that's what you're really posing right now.
Right.
And then, the other thing was, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought, but, anyways.
What would be the cost to just seal it up? I'm talking, because we're talking 50 grand here, but what if it takes 3 grand to get somebody to just put some 8-foot hurricane fence all the way around the bottom, just against, like, to just keep people from crawling in there? Because that's the problem, right? That bottom door that keeps somehow
Yeah,
opening.
but I mean, we still have a building that doesn't have a roof on it, has a partially cleft roof, you can see from inside all the way up. And a vacant building is going to get worse and worse. And then you have the risk of something happening, like it falling, to the inside. That is what we try to keep people from doing. We want to get people to either demolish a property sometimes if it's like in this condition, not just put a fence, because now you're going to have, a rodent problem, and you could have that'll happen too, or, somebody throwing something in there. We can try to seal it as best we can, but I don't think that's our solution for it.
The other thing that I wanted to ask, sorry, I forgot, but on the contract, when we do accept a bid or auction bid, that we place that clause in there about, we had spoken, I think it was called a reverter clause, just to make sure it's there. And I don't know if we can set a timeline for development.
Generally, and if you're talking about it, Mayor, Michael, if I may, Mayor, is that what you had spoken to me about in the past is a reverter in two different situations. One, a reverter in regards to if we sold it as is, to require them within so many days to secure the building sufficient for state and city health codes. And that right of reverter, if we had that in place, then basically what would occur is they'd have to do it based upon inspection. If they fail to do so, then ownership would revert back to the city, and potentially with cost on the original payment, the money gets refunded to the purchasing entity initially. So we really don't get anywhere with that. Then in regards to, okay, we're going to sell it to you with the requirement that you build something on it, okay, in the next year and a half or something like that. And those are things that you can do, but then the question is, your requirements in regards to structure, your requirement in regard to use of it, then it gets into interpretation as to exactly what's going to cause that. If they fail to do whatever it is that actually going to trigger the reverter? Do we just want them to use it? Do you just want them to build something on it? What type of structure needs to be built? What type of operation does it need to be under to meet the requirements not to cause the reverter to trigger? And so the devil always gets in the details when you get into those things. Okay? And so, just because you put it in there doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be enforceable and we get it back immediately. It's an issue that might have to be litigated.
It could be something that would be amended also, could it not, or not? Or that's just...
in theory, yes, but in pragmatically, no.
No.
Once it's in the deed, it's in the deed.
Okay.
And that's all for the part two of whether, you guys at a later time deciding what to do with it, on that part.
Another question. Since September 21st, 2021, when we sat here and said yes, that we wanted this property, or that, we couldn't say no. Technically, we couldn't say no anyway because they kind of granted it to us. But how many break-ins or entries have we really had in there? I understand the liability. Don't get me wrong. I understand it. I know we need to make it safe. You know what I mean? So, how many have we had that we know of?
I don't know if the chief has any record if we've had any complaints, but I know that there has been people in there, no doubt. Stuff in there you can tell somebody's been in there, and we've helped secure it. Chief, at the that building downtown, the old Jones building, 304 East Main, 3-story one that we've had for bid. Do you know, since last year, any reports of any people being in there and things of that sort?
You're talking about the one downtown. Okay, yeah. I'm trying to figure out where we're at. So yes, we have. So in the past, we've had some people wandering and going in through the back and climbing in through the windows and sleeping there. That was probably March, April, May of last year. It was prevalent. Now you don't see it. We've been out there at that time. It wasn't as targeted as much, but we've been targeting. So at that time, we did have some homeless that were staying there. But we haven't had any since then. It's been quiet.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Council, if you're ready, any other questions on this?
I'm going to make one last statement real quick.
Okay.
Mike, we put you in a position in order to do this job, and we may sit here and bounce things back and forth. But me personally, I feel if you think that this is the best course of action at this time, I do want to hold off, though. I'm going to personally put this out there that I would like to hold off and see the result set of what you get negotiated. You can go ahead and move forward on it, but I'd like to see the result set before we decide what we're going to do.
What you're going to do.
That's what I personally would like to do. And no, I'm not 60, sir. I'm going to stick with your first push of 50.
50, right?
At the max.
That's
just
fine.
to see if there's even anything that can be done for us, and we can go from there to get it towards that. I respect the job that you do there in that office, and though I may not agree with it all the time, I understand where you're coming from, and that's where I stand in the situation.
Well, another thing is, we're our code enforcement is out there. We've got 300 abandoned or 200 and some abandoned Patrick's out there. Give you a number of buildings, and we're trying to get people to do something with it. And, this is ours, and we should be doing something with it too. Making it safe, or getting rid of it like we're asking some people. And we've had some luck. We've made contact with or at least sent notices to all those abandoned buildings, and more recently one on, I believe it was on South Reynolds. The property owners went ahead and demolished it and got that done. And so, for us, it's kind of lead by example as well.
Okay. On this agenda item, you're asking council to go ahead and place a dollar amount on whether it's a partial or a full demolition, and then the reserve bid?
Actually, you can take, the way it's worded is that you can, any one of those items, you can tell him you want him to go ahead and begin demolition and set an amount on demolition. You can say that you want to go ahead and have the demolition and include instructions on how to put it out for bid at this time, or you can just take no action entirely. The city manager has the ability to make expenditures of $50,000 without going out for competitive bids as per state statute in regards to our charter and in regards to administration of the city. So there's certain things that he could do in those regards without your approval. It's just probably appropriate for him to bring it to you before starting anything like this.
So he doesn't even need our approval
He,
to spend it?
in my estimation, he probably would not, but it's best for him to bring it, this type of project, and given the issue to you all in the way that he's presented, the reason why we need an ordinance, because he's allowed to do these things, is that it specifically sets the pattern that he can follow. And so it gives him guidance in, okay, we know we got to do this. I know as the city manager, as somebody involved in it, I know that I'm going to have to demolish it. I know I'm going to have to get the best price. I know I don't want to spend over $50,000. But then after that occurs, then whether you're going to go out for bids, that calls your alls based upon our charter and based upon state statute. That out generally requires your alls direct action. And so that's why we're here.
So the second part, the ordinance he's talking about, of course, the second part on the sale. But since, we were bringing that forward, we added the demolition to bring that up here. But if, called and got 3 bids and was able to get something under $50,000, I would start that already. I wanted to bring it up to you guys to talk about. So because it is a different type of project. And, even though I have the authority to spend, under $50,000, that doesn't mean that I'm going to do it without, bringing it up on an agenda to be able to get input.
And I respect that. We had it last meeting. You tabled it and said you were going to bring it back. You're bringing it back now. So I respect the fact that you're bringing back something that technically you don't have to, but know that we have legs into. So thank you.
Okay. Council, I'll entertain a motion at this time for agenda item 7.2.
Mayor, I make a motion authorizing the city manager to enter into negotiations with a maximum spend of $50,000 for the demolition of the property 304 East Main Street.
Second.
Oh, hold on.
There's
Oh, wait a
a
minute.
second.
Do you all want to allow him to contract?
Oh, and to authorize him to enter into said contract.
Second.
Do we,
Is that it?
will there be
That's good.
2 motions then on this?
No, it's still one.
So we're not going to address the
The bids
the
yet. No, we
bids
want
yet?
him to bring it back to us after.
After he gives us
So
a quote.
you're going to wait, okay.
Because I think that a lot of us want to know what we're going to end up with before we decide what to do with it.
So we're amending the,
Huh?
Just not acting on the second part of it.
Okay, let me
agenda.
just restate my
Okay.
motion. I'll just restate my motion. I retract my previous motion. I'll restate my motion for simplicity. Mayor, I make a motion to allow the city manager to enter into negotiations for the demolition with a maximum spend of $50,000 and sign said contract once completed. All. And return to us with the results set
There you go.
once complete.
Yes, you mean bring back what do you guys want to do with this now?
Yes.
Right, at that
Right.
point.
The sale or
Second.
sealed bid or something.
Okay.
Or-
okay, so we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carries, so passes. Now we move on to 7.3, discuss, consider, and act upon appointment of Daniel Haygood and Reuben Todd Garcia to serve as commissioners to the Firefighters and Police Officers Civil Service Commission, and the reappointment of Denise Strait as commissioner to the Firefighters and Police Officers Civil Service Commission.
Let's see, Mayor and Council. So I've got 2 of our commissioners have been asking for me to find additional people to serve. They've been there for a long time, and it's Ralph Gomez and Bill McCumber. I think they both served there over 12 years apiece.
Since 2010 and
Yeah.
2012.
And so the local government code says that the chief executive officer appoints and has to get approval from the governing body to appoint people to the civil service commission. And so we reached out to two people who I think have a pretty good vested interest in our community and are willing to serve. Daniel Haygood and Reuben Todd Garcia both said that they would serve on that committee. And so I'd like to get y'all's approval for their appointment and to replace Bill McCumber and Ralph Gomez. They stayed with us for a while until we were able to find somebody. And they both submitted their resignation today, knowing that we had some people that were willing to serve.
Council.
And also on this agenda item is to reappoint Denise Strait to the Civil Service Commission.
Mr. Chris, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay. I will entertain a motion at this time.
Mayor, make a motion approving the appointment of Daniel Haygood and Reuben Todd Garcia to serve as commissioners to the Firefighters and Police Officers Civil Service Commission, and the reappointment of Denise Strait as commissioner to the Firefighters and Police Officers Civil Service Commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay. All opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carries. Before I read and open the next agenda item, we do have a document disclosure statement in reference to conflicts. So Mrs. Bowen,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
you will be stepping out at this time. Okay. 7.4, discuss, consider, and act upon A, evaluation committee's recommendation for hiring a firm for engineering services for development of a master drainage planning study, and B, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a contract with the firm selected. Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Yes.
This is the study that the city manager discussed in his report earlier in the agenda. The request for qualifications for hiring an engineering firm to develop this study was published November 17th and November 24th, 2021, and also posted on our city website. Statements of qualifications were due at 10 a.m. January 18th, 2022. At that time, we received statements of qualifications from 3 engineering firms: LJA Engineering, S&B Infrastructure, and International Consulting Engineers, or ICE. The evaluation committee met Monday, February 7th of this year to discuss its review of the statements of qualifications and to discuss its recommendation. And that committee is recommending that you authorize the city manager to enter into negotiations with LJA Engineering.
Okay. Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And we received, you said 3?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then- and the recommendation of LJA.
Three engineering firms submitted statements of qualifications, or SOQs.
All right.
Who was on the committee?
Mayor Pro Tem Gabriel Anzaldúa, our interim finance director, and Esteban Guerra in our engineering department.
I didn't see the scoring on it, but
Yeah, we didn't get
we didn't get the.
Oh,
so-
I
The
just
matrix
gave you a
is-
blank.
Yeah.
We usually do, don't we, or?
No, I don't. I usually just show you the blank score sheet for an RFQ.
We can send them to you guys.
We-
We can send them to them.
We can,
Okay.
Okay. Council, no other questions or? Mr. Chris? No. Mr. Miller? Or Mr. Burke?
No.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on this agenda item.
Mayor, make a motion authorizing are taking the recommendation of the evaluation committee for hiring LJA for the master drainage planning study and authorize the city manager to negotiate a contract with said firm.
All in favor, say aye.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have a second, I'm sorry. You second? Okay, okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay. So motion passes.
Thank you. We'll get the score sheets to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and if we can let Ms. Bowen know she may re-enter. We'll move on to agenda item 7.5. Hold a public hearing to discuss, consider, and act upon amending the zoning ordinance by rezoning Wonderland Number 2, Lot 3, Block 7, known as 1155 East 5th Street, from R1 Residential Single District to R2 Two-Family District, as shown by and therefore recorded in deed records, volume 1296, page 368, instrument 446156, Jim Wells County, Texas. Hi.
I believe it's a public hearing, Mayor. You need to open the public hearing.
Okay. At this time, we will open up our public hearing. It is 5:55 p.m. and we will open our public hearing in reference to agenda item 7.5.
Mayor, if you would allow, while you're waiting to see if anybody would like to speak for the public hearing, I'd like to give you a little synopsis on the
Sure.
agenda item. So this is the agenda that was brought, this is the agenda item that was brought to you at your last council meeting, and there was some clarifications needed to be made on the minutes for the that particular item for planning and zoning. So we took it back to planning and zoning. They reconsidered the item, and after looking a little bit deeper into that situation, they all unanimously voted to approve the request, and so that's the new recommendation is to move with approval.
Anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item, you're welcome to step forward at this time. Not seeing anyone wishing to step forward and speak in reference to this agenda item, we will close our public hearing. It is 5:57 p.m. Okay, we close public hearing. Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, I just want to thank P&Z for going back and reevaluating this. I know they didn't have to, but since we pushed back, I want to thank them for doing that.
Mr. Molina?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Mrs. Bone?
No, Mayor, thank you.
No. I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I know that when it did go before the P&Z, they had discussed it and they had some concerns, a couple of them because of parking, and it was a utility easement, not an alley, and something in reference to on a R2, it was only one driveway is allowed and those type of things, and they were concerned about parking. Can you elaborate and let us know a little bit more about that?
Yes, ma'am. What we did is we gave them a little bit better, clear picture of what the property looked like and the parking situation, as well as the access to the property. After looking at the bigger picture, they agreed that it was not an issue with parking.
When you say bigger picture, like what do you mean?
When they originally got it, they were looking at maps that didn't have, they weren't satellite maps. They were more of like the drawings that you get with just the street blocks and the streets. So you couldn't see where the access was. The alleyway that was there, it's used as an alleyway, even though it isn't a dedicated alleyway. It's an actual easement. It's used as an alleyway, and so it's not paved, but it's got an improved surface. It's used currently by our trash trucks. So there's access back there. They weren't aware of that situation, so they weren't aware that there was access to that property.
Okay. So there's no concern in reference to congestion, future issues with any parking? Because I know also on here it read in reference to, I think on the notes, that you had said they could use it to access and parking. So I was a little concerned about that, only because if it's a utility easement, if we have a break in the line or there's some kind of issue, I just wanted to.
So parking isn't allowed on the easement. It's just the access to get to the property. So there wouldn't be any parking allowed, and the actual easement to block any kind of access to that.
Okay, so how do we control that if we do change the, from R1 to R2? How do we monitor, how do we, I'm just saying in case.
Yeah, the same way we would monitor every day. If somebody's blocking an alley, we ask them to move it. Basically, what we're saying is we're not going to allow them to create a parking lot on our alleyway or on our easement. Now, if they need to get through there to get to their parking, then they could, but they would not be allowed to block it.
Was there a safety issue or anything? Because I saw it, it's kind of small, there's not very much room. I was just wondering, like, coming in and out and.
I don't believe there's a safety issue. We're getting trash trucks through there. I mean, if we're getting trash trucks, I'm pretty sure we could get a regular vehicle through there. That was one of the original concerns, but after looking at it, like I said, none of them had any complaints or concerns about it. Neither did, this thing went through 4 public hearings now, so nobody's expressed any concerns.
And engineering was perfectly fine with it?
Yes.
They didn't have no concerns or anything?
They unanimously voted to approve it this time.
Well, not the commissioners, the engineering, our engineering department.
No, they didn't have any concerns.
Okay. Mr. Esparza?
Yeah, well, no, it's, when, on our alleys, we have utilities in our alleys also, so sometimes, the alleys are blocked and people, they'll have to go the other way around if they need to, because we'll have breaks in lines or things like that. So this is no different. I mean, I think it almost seems like this was, it should be labeled an alley like some of the other ones along that street, but this is an old area, and it just got dedicated as an easement, not titled an alley. And so, but there's, and I drove it also, before all the way through.
I couldn't drive it all the way through.
It's too tight.
But do you know how wide that utility easement is?
I don't, off the top of my head, no, ma'am.
No.
And this is the second house in, so they're real close to the.
To the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. No other questions, council? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion approving, hold on, let me forget one here. Amending the planning and zoning ordinance by rezoning Wonderland Number 2, Lot 3, Block 7, known as 1155 East 5th Street, from R1 Residential Single District to an R2 Family District, and shown by therefore records in deed, recorded in deed records volume 1296, page 368, instrument 446156, Chimos County, Texas.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 7.6. Discuss, consider, and act upon adopting a resolution ratifying the submission of grant application number 4538201 titled Equipment for Active Attack Integrated Responses to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division for funds available in the 2022 State Homeland Security Program, LETPA projects, SHSP-LB, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official, authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, to reject, to alter or to terminate a grant on behalf of the city. And D, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, the city will return all funds to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division.
Mayor and Council, this agenda item is requesting permission to apply for a grant or ratifying the request for a grant to, what active attack integrated responses are its equipment that would be needed by our police and, well, fire and EMS in this case, to be able to work with police to be able to affect a response to an active shooter or a hostile event. So it's equipment that we currently don't have, and it was allowed in this grant program, so we thought we'd ask for the equipment.
Okay, council, any questions? Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
Nothing.
Mr. Molina?
No.
Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am?
Okay. And I'll entertain a motion at this time.
All right, make a motion for approval of adopting a resolution, A, ratifying the submission of grant application number 4535301, titled Equipment and Training for FEMA Type Water Rescue Team to the Office of the Governor.
I think
That's
you're on the.
Oh,
Excellent.
my apologies. Ratifying the submission of grant application number 4538201, titled Equipment of Attack Integrated Responses to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division for funds available to the 2022 State Homeland Security Program, LETPA projects SHSAP-LB, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official, C, authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, to reject, to alter, or to terminate a grant on behalf of the city, and D, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, the city will return all funds to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and we have 7.7. Discuss, consider, and act upon adopting a resolution, A, ratifying the submission of grant application number 4535301, titled Equipment and Training for FEMA Type Water Rescue Team to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division for funds available in the 2022 State Homeland Security Program, SHSP. B, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official, and C, authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, to reject, to alter, or to terminate a grant on behalf of the city, and D, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, the city will return all funds to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division.
So the Federal Emergency Management Association or agency, it's just FEMA, they develop standards for what each type of rescue team should be trained, level that they should be trained to, and the equipment they should have. And so when this grant announcement came out, one of the priorities was one of the target capabilities that the state is trying to do is create more type water rescue teams in the state. Specifically in our area, they want to create 11 additional teams throughout this next 3 to 5 years. And so we have the foundation for that program. What we're lacking is some equipment and a few more certifications. We have a number of trained staff already already trained up to that level. What they're lacking is the equipment and a couple more certifications. So when this announcement came out, this is one of the projects that we put together, and are seeking funding for the training, the additional training that's needed, the equipment, and a boat that would be funded through them. So that's what this grant is, and it's the same organization as the last grant. So we're hoping that they'll approve all of them. So.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No, thank you.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. No questions, we will move. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
May I make a motion to act upon adopting a resolution, A, ratifying the submission grant application number 4535301, 01, titled Equipment and Training for FEMA Type Water Rescue. Sorry, I put my glasses on.
And I'll interrupt you,
Yes, sir.
council member. You could just say that I make a motion to approve the agenda item as presented. If you really
Would
want
you?
to.
Oh, thank you
could
so
do it that way.
much.
I think that it's pretty clear based upon it was read very distinctly by
Yes,
the mayor.
she did a
and
good job,
presented by
yes.
that, so I think that you could just say,
I-
just to, so, because a lot of these things that Michael puts on the agenda are pretty wordy.
Well, thank you so much.
Are pretty what?
Pretty wordy.
Oh, word.
But I want to hear her read it.
She was putting on her glasses and
I
everything.
had to put my glasses on and everything.
And so your motion would be is to approve, I move to approve the agenda item as presented.
Okay, Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda item as written.
Second.
There we go.
Okay, we
Thank
have
you,
a
Mr.
first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Patrick.
Okay, 7.8. Here's status report on January 2022 month-end financial statements, summary of funds, and deliver of January 2022 check registers. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Sorry, just waiting on the clicker real
We
quick.
need a clicker.
Yeah, I need a clicker.
How are you, Gabriel?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. Appreciate you waiting out for us. Thank you.
It's gonna be forward and back.
I've done that before, but John's
So I'll
never
refer
kind
it.
of like said
You're
yes
good.
or no. Or
You just
John-
need to say
John
A,
may have
B,
said,
C.
Yeah.
I think the motion should be made this way.
You're good, Hector?
The motion is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Easiest way.
Ready? I'll be presenting the financials for the fourth month ending January 31st, 2022. The general fund revenues are $3,331,037. Property tax budget was $972,177. And year-to-date, we have received $1,266,770. Exhibit B, we have our M&O and INS for 2022 of $3,126,713. Last year, we had $2,845,227, so roughly, we're sitting with $281,000 above that mark. Going back to Exhibit A, sales tax was budgeted at $1,760,000, and we're showing $956,807 through November. Exhibit C, sales tax budget versus actual. This includes the month of December. December's collection was $539,951, or $100,000 above target. 2022 budget was $1,320,000, and we have an actual of $1,496,759, so $176,759 over budget. Exhibit D, we have actual 2022 versus actual 2021, and we're showing an increase of $156,324 over previous year to date. Returning to Exhibit A, occupational and mixed beverage is at 27% of budget. Franchise license and permits is just under 20%. Fines and forfeits is sitting at 22.28%. Miscellaneous revenue is at 14%. And interfund transfers is at 33.25%. Exhibit E. We have our general fund expenditures. Year-to-date, we have $4,446,880. And just touching on some of the larger departments, general service is at 39%. Fire department is at 46%. Police department is sitting at 35.64%. Street maintenance is at 35%. Parks and playgrounds is just under 38%. And public health is sitting over 42%. Going to Exhibit F, revenues versus expenditures for all funds. For the general fund, we're showing a negative $1,100,000 $115,843. Solid waste, we're showing a negative $275,088. And that has to do with, again, our rental equipment. We have equipment broken down. There's a lot of repair costs, and we're having to rent equipment, so it's kind of adding up. Utility fund is at a negative $157,628. The airport fund is at a negative $45,049 with the transfer. The golf course fund is at $12,690 with the transfer. The hotel occupancy is at $21,488. And the multi-use complex is at a negative $102,414 with the transfer. And just a little note for these, it is that time of year where we do our interfund transfers because debt service is due, all our payments in February. So some of these are a little intimidating, but it's because we had to transfer those funds to make those payments. It's that time of year. And the final slide, revenue over expenditures comparing 2021 versus 2022. The general fund was at a negative $543,612 last year, and this year we show a negative $1,115,843. A lot of that has to do with, again, the TIFMAS for the fire department, some overtime that we should get reimbursed as well for a police department. So once we get reimbursements, they'll start evening out and working better for us. Solid waste was at a negative $92,478, and now we're at a negative $275,088, again, due to the equipment and repairs. Utility fund was at a negative $116,475, and now we're at a negative $157,628. The airport fund was at a negative $367,000, and now we're at a negative $45,448. The golf course fund was at $14,059, and now we're at $12,690. The hotel occupancy was at $28,162, and now we're at $21,488. And the multi-use was at $32,225, and now we're at a negative $102,414. And those are the financials for January, if you have any questions.
Council, any questions? Mr. Crisp?
No.
Mr. Molina?
No, thank you, Gabriel.
Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bowen?
Not at this time, thank you.
And in February, we're paying principal and interest, or is it
For which one?
on
For
the
which
debt
fund?
service?
For which? For all of them?
Whatever debt service we have.
Yeah, it's
We pay it in February and August, so
The
what is,
February payment is principal and interest, so
In
it's a lot
February?
larger.
okay, okay.
And we do the transfers at this time to do the money to make the
Okay.
large payment.
Okay. And I was gonna ask you, on the utility fund, you anticipate that, because I know we had a big overage in that one, and now you're showing it, do you think it'll
We
level?
did
That-
a huge debt service transfer.
Yeah, that's the largest
why.
one, 656,000 was
Okay.
just for the debt service.
From the utility fund.
Right.
Okay. There was also, on our check registry, I just wanted to know, we had do you know what it was for 4X Construction Group?
Again, let the cell construction over there at the
Okay.
landfill, the new cell.
Okay. All right. Holt Company, what's that? What are they?
There was different ones. There was for a rental, and there was also
Repair
for,
equipment.
For
yeah,
repairs?
Repair
for
or rental.
repairs, but there was multiple. Because there was multiple from Holt. Which one was it? What dollar amount? Because I know there was multiple to Holt.
No, I just, in general, because I know we had some big payments.
Yeah,
but
we
I
did
just
buy,
wanted to- They do some repairs, and it was 181,160.
Yeah, 169,000 was for a repair on Unit 926.
No, we bought it.
And, oh, the loader.
Yeah, we bought
The
it.
load, for the 926, Unit 926, I'm sorry.
And then there were 2 repairs though.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
so much. Council,
you.
any other questions? No?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so.
Okay, now we move to agenda item number 8, executive session. In accordance with Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Subchapter D, the City Council will now recess into executive session closed meeting to discuss the following. The City Council may enter into closed or executive session to discuss the following pursuant to 8.1 Texas Government Code subsection 551.072, deliberations regarding real property, sale of city-owned building and parking lot at 3001 Old Kingsville Road, Alice, Texas, and upcoming pending lease with 19 Hole and Grill. 8.2, consultation with its attorney, Texas Government Code, and subsection 551.071, private consultation with the city attorney regarding pending litigation, sale of city-owned building and parking lot located at 3001 Old Kingsville Road, Alice, Texas, and upcoming pending lease with 19 Hole and Grill. Okay. It's 6:20 p.m., so we will enter into executive session. Okay. Okay, agenda item number 9, return to open session. Return to open session and take any action necessary as a result of discussions and preceding agenda item number 8 pursuant to 9.1 consultation with its attorney, Texas Government Code and subsection 551.071. Private consultation with city attorney regarding pending litigation, sale of city-owned building and parking located at 3001 Old Kingsville Road, Alice, Texas, and upcoming pending lease with 19 Hole and Grill. 9.2 is Texas Government Code, subsection 551.072, deliberations regarding real property, sale of city building, owned building and parking lot at 3001 Old Kingsville Road, Alice, Texas, and upcoming pending lease with 19 Hole and Grill. Okay, council.
Mayor, in regards to 9.1, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Mayor, I make a motion authorizing staff to go out for sealed bids for the sale of the building and parking lot located at 3001 Old Kingsville Road, Alice, Texas.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay. 9.2,
No action needed at this time.
we will take no action. Council? Okay. So 9.2, no action. Agenda item number 10, adjournment.
Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, same sign. Motion passes, meeting adjourned. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
Thank you.
being with us.
Go out.
Yeah.